To our dear parents and guardians, co-members of the faculty, Queen and staff, and our beloved administration and management, a very pleasant Sunday afternoon to all of you. Let me thank you first for giving us a couple of hours of your precious time to allow us to present to you the things that would greatly matter in the success of your children's academic year 2021 and 2022. As a reminder, take note that you may send your questions on our chat box here, and at the end of the presentations, we will be answering them. So dito po yun sa ating Zoom chat box. And prior to that, of course, please don't forget to turn your camera on because we will also have our picture taking. For those watching the live stream, you may direct your questions and concerns to our Facebook page or the messenger. And of course, to start our day right, let us put ourselves in the presence of the Lord for the Queen Yan prayer.
The Quinian Prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. O Saint Anne, pray to our Lord, for that I may keep away from all darkness of sins and ignorance. Obtain for me a diligent and obedient spirit, quickness of apprehension, capacity of retaining, and the powerful assistance of God's holy grace, that whatever I may hear or learn may be applied to His honor and the salvation of my soul. Amen. Saint Anne, pray for us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Yeah, thank you so much po. And to give honor to our country and the flag, I'd like to request everyone to stand for the singing of our Philippine national anthem to be followed immediately by the Queen Anne hymn.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, telas ng sirananan, alam ng puso, sa litig mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, kuyagan ng magiting, sa mandulupin, di ka pasisingil, sa nalalang sa simoy at sa langit ng pagkaw, ay hinanang tuglangaw,
Maraming salamat po. At ngayon, to officially start our program, to our own Queen Mother, ang Queen Mother ng Queen Anne School, ang atin pong napaka-hardworking na principal and directress, our very own Miss Esther B. Atutubo for her opening remarks.
My dear students, Queenian parents, faculty members, a pleasant day to each and every one of you. Last school year was a challenge for all of us. In the midst of an invincible enemy, we fought and fought harder until we achieved what was unthinkable then. Learners being able to adapt in the changing fortunes of time. With the help of our partners, the Department of Education and the local government of the city of Santa Rosa, we as a community strive to be a significant force in our quest to continue delivering quality yet affordable education. We as an institution never stop in addressing the needs of our students, parents, and stakeholders and providing ample care and understanding to cope up with the challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. This year, we remain optimistic of the possible learning outcome our children will acquire as we again embark on an academic journey anchored on technologies. And with the valuable experience we had from the previous school year, please be assured that Team QAS are better and stronger. This year, we had added into our family season and able academic consultant to boost the development of our faculty members. This year, 80% of our faculty roster are professional licensed teachers. This year, our facilities are being renovated, calibrated, and refurbished in anticipation of a soon-to-be face-to-face setup. This year, our sports teams are being prepared to uphold its mantra of failing to prepare is preparing to fail. This year, we will launch a One QAS student government, wherein students from Santa Rosa and Dasmariñas will act as one for the glory of the community, country, and God. This year, we will launch the first online school publication. There are many things to look forward this year, as many as the reason why we all should be thankful for the blessing of life. Dearest Queenians, I welcome you to school year 2021-2022, the breakthrough school year of Queen Anne School. Thank you very much, and I send to you my virtual hugs and kisses. Mabuhay po tayong lahat. God bless us all.
Thank you very much po, aming minamahal na punong guro, Ma'am Esther. So to continue, we'd like to introduce to you our powerhouse members of the faculty and staff. And here is our Director for Academics and Prefect of Discipline to do that, our very own Sir Christian Noel Atutubo.
Good day, Queenian parents and guardians. Let me introduce to you the members of the faculty and staff of Queen Anne School this coming school year 2021 to 2022. Starting off with the school administrators, we have Mr. Cesar A. Atutubo, the school president, and Mrs. Aster B. Atutubo, the school directress principal. We also have Mrs. Aser Vener B. Atutubo Reyes, the director for admissions or registrar. Ms. Erin Venice B. Atutubo, the director for finance. Mr. Christian Noel B. Atutubo, Director for Academics and the Prefect of Discipline, and Mr. Michael Francis J. Reyes, the Director for Sports and Activities. We also have our education consultants, Dr. Socorro B. Escape and Mr. John Ray Depone. Members of the faculty and staff, we have Miss Paula Anjonica V. Bulatao, our preschool teacher, Miss Jane Moral, our elementary teacher, Miss Roslyn F. Zantua, elementary teacher, Mrs. Maricel D. Espeloa, our elementary teacher, Miss Larry Jane Liege, elementary teacher, Miss Gurley N. Mortega, elementary teacher. For the junior high school department, we have Miss Irma Hizarza, Mr. Kevin V. Giman, Miss Judith M. Relion, Mr. Jojo M. Manalo, our senior high school coordinator, Miss Renea Medina, Miss Monica Naperi, Mr. Mark Anthony Pelias, Mr. Mark Anthony P. Laguman, Miss Crisaline Jazel D. Pasilan, Mr. Albino M. Lee, and Mr. Frederick C. Macarubo. Members of the administration offices of Queen Anne School, we have Mrs. Lizelle Ann D. Enriquez, our LIS coordinator, Miss Anne Ferliza S. Celones, administrative staff, Mrs. Rowena A. Ilaw, our cashier, and also Mrs. Rosalita Calios. So that comprises the members of the administrators, faculty, and staff of Queen Anne School this coming school year 2021 to 2022. Thank you for listening.
Maraming salamat po, Sir Ian. And moving on, para po sa akin, in order for us to successfully move forward, we have to at least get a glimpse of how we started. So, ako po ay nag-prepare ng isang recorded video para po ipaliwanag sa inyo at ipakilala kung sino or ano ang Queen Anne School at ano po ba ang history nito. So, ito po.
Good day, everyone, especially to our dear parents. Today, I'm going to share with you a few very important things about Queen Anne School of Santa Rosa and Dasmariñas. First, I'd like to discuss the student handbook. The Queen Anne School Student Handbook serves as a guide to all students in the performance of their roles as members of the academic community. It contains the school's policies on admission, academics, support services, daily routines, and standard operating procedures, behavioral norms, and measure of discipline. Students are expected to read and be familiar with all its contents upon receipt hereof. It is encouraged that the handbook is to be discussed with the class advisor and finally have the parents sign the return slip attached at the back of the handbook. The return slip containing parental signatures shall signify understanding and compliance with the school's rules and regulations. The student handbook has been framed thoroughly to meet the needs and challenges of every student's academic life. These rules and regulations are vital tools to ensure the development, progress, success, and harmonious relationship of the students with their peers, teachers, school personnel, and persons with authority. Where did the name Saint Anne or Queen Anne came from? Now, tradition refers to Saint Anne as the mother of the Blessed Virgin Mary, grandmother of Jesus Christ. Although not written off in the Bible, Anne is given credence in the non-biblical Gospel of James. Saint Anne was born in Bethlehem and married Joachim from Nazareth in Galilee. Joachim was a shepherd assigned to supply the Temple of Jerusalem with sheep for sacrifices. After 20 years of marriage, Anne and Joachim had no children. Once, when Joachim overheard ridicule because of their childless state, he is said to have gone to the desert and pled with God to give them a child. After a time of fasting, an angel appeared to assure Joachim that he and Anne would be given a child they were to name Mary and dedicate to God. After her birth, Anne and Joachim dedicated Mary to God at the Temple of Jerusalem. When Mary was 14, they betrothed her to Joseph of Nazareth, and so Mary's story continues with the birth of her son, Jesus, and his life on earth. The feast of Saint Anne is July 26th. Saint Anne is the patron saint of mothers and women in labor and minors. For the history of Queen Anne School, it was founded in 1994. The first location of Queen Anne School, which was formerly Queen Anne Learning Center, was at the residence of School Directress Mrs. Aster B. Atutubo at Yacal Street, Mariquita Pueblo Phase 2, Santa Rosa. With an initial 48 preschool enrollees, the school was obliged to open its elementary course the following school year, which was 1995 to 1996, because of parents signifying support to the academic capabilities shown by our beloved school directors. By the said school year, enrollment for the preschool and elementary courses tripled to 120 students, requiring the school directors to rent the house beside the original location, thus giving more space for children to enjoy academic life. The following year saw the transfer of students from Mariquita Pueblo Phase 2 to new Santa Rosa homes. The school acquired a 2,783 square meter lot from the developers of the said subdivision to accommodate 200 students for school year 1996 to 1997. School year 1997 to 1998 was the year Queen Anne School first offered its high school department. It was also the year the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports gave their recognition to Queen Anne School. For many of you who was wondering what the school seal stands for, now your questions will be answered. First, the cross. The cross symbolizes the school's adherence to Christian values and teachings. The book represents the school's belief that it is one of the students' main sources of knowledge. The torch, embedded in the book, symbolizes its power to give light and truth in path directed by wisdom and faith. The atomic orbit denotes the existence of an ever-changing and fast life that every student will be facing in and outside the halls of Queen Anne School. And last but not the least, the banner, which contains the following: the year the school was founded, written in numerals, the Spanish word sapere, which means learning or knowledge, and of course the Latin word virtud, which means virtue. Thank you all so much for listening today. Please be ready for our next speaker.
Maraming salamat po. And next, we'd like to ask what makes a Queenian? We at Queenian School live by 8 core values po. And this will be explained to us by our sports director and member of the Board of Discipline, Mr. Michael Francis Reyes.
Good day, Queenians, parents. My name is Michael Francis Reyes. Currently, I am the sports director of Queenan School and at the same time a member of the Board of Discipline of Queenan School Incorporated. Today, I am tasked to discuss with you the Queenian core values. Queenian core values are the very meat and substance of what our students would like to be. So without further ado, I will share to you our first Queenian core value. Critical thinking. Critical thinking adheres to the value of critical or adheres to the value for it clarifies goals, examines assumptions, discerns hidden values, evaluates evidence, accomplishes actions, and asserts conclusions. A Queenian critical thinker possesses life skills that includes observation, interpretation, analysis, interference, evaluation, and explanation. In this age where information is abundant in the internet, where people is now dependent on other people's posts, where the concept of truth has become so limited to people whom our children has idolized, Queen and School exerts a big amount of effort for them to be critical thinkers. We want our children to be inquisitive and resourceful in their own search of wisdom. That is why we encourage them to still have their physical textbooks, which we believe is the simplest and cheapest way to acquire knowledge. The internet, on the other hand, is also a great tool for their enrichment, but must be utilized with extra caution. Second is honesty. Queenians are honest students. They have a moral character that denotes positive and virtuous attributes such as integrity, truthfulness, and straightforwardness. After all, honesty is the best policy. If there's something in this world we want our children to achieve, that is happiness. And according to Christopher D. Connor, honesty is the easiest thing one can practice in order to be happy. It cuts through deception and knives its way through deceit and lies. Honesty leads to a fulfilling and free life. Again, as the saying would go, honesty is the best policy. Honesty is not just about telling the truth. It's about being real with yourself and others, about who you are, what you want, and what you need to live your most authentic life. Honesty promotes openness, empowers us, and enables us to develop consistency in how we present the facts. Honesty sharpens our perception and allows us to observe everything around us with clarity. Third value is integrity. Integrity, Queenians are consistent in their actions, values, methods, measures, principles, expectations, and outcomes. It is an integral part of Quinian character that is based on the supremacy of moral values. Ito naman po ang kapatid ng honesty. According to the dictionary, integrity is the practice of honesty and strong adherence to moral and ethical principles. As the school continuously helped establish the guiding morals and values of a Quinian, we make sure that they are being practiced consistently inside and outside the campus. Sa madaling salita, ang isang batang Quinian ay palaging nakadepende sa kung ano ang tama at nararapat. At sa kanyang palagiang ganitong gawi, siya ay nagkakaroon ng integridad bilang isang kasapi ng isang samahan, isang organisasyon, at komunidad. Fourth is loyalty. Students are made sure that they are faithful to persons, groups, causes, and most importantly, to God. In Queen School, students are taught to be loyal not only to personalities. In line with their being a person of integrity, students are encouraged to be loyal to what they believe is true to whatever cause and beliefs they are into, as long as it does not cross the very thin line of fanaticism and extremism. For Quinians, that is loyalty. Next is discipline. Quinians are led to be students with self-discipline. Students respect persons of authority and the codes of conduct implemented by the school. Through this value, one is expected to learn the ability to rise up to occasions and motivate oneself. Ika nga, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. In short, discipline is all about knowing what should be done to achieve one's goal and aspiration. And Queen School assures you will always be at the forefront in providing the necessary tools your children need in his or her desire to acquire knowledge and eventually fulfill his or her dreams. Next is respect. Students denotes a positive feeling of esteem or deference for a person of other entity. QAS respect can be seen through language, gestures, and actions. It also means affection and admiration to something good or of any valuable qualities. Kabaliktaran po ng respeto ay inggit. Sa Queen School, hindi natin hinahayaan ng isang bata na babalot ng inggit sa anumang bagay o katangian na taglay ng isa pang mag-aaral. Pagkus, ang mga ito ay kanya pang ipagmamalaki o kung maaari ay tularan. If you have any questions, suggestions, or anything in mind, please feel free to click on the chat box, make your comments or questions, and we will answer them as soon as possible. Next is excellence. Queen School students always strive to surpass ordinary standards or norms. In everything they do, it is imminent in their character to be one of the best, if not the best. In every orientation I conduct, I always give emphasis on the value of putting excellence at the very top of every student's undertaking. In academics or sports, students are encouraged to be at their best. On the other hand, Queen parents are advised that students of Queen School are trained not to be perfect. Rather, they are trained to be always exerting their valuable best in every endeavor. Besides, nothing in this world is perfect. Last but not the least is nobility. Queen students act, speaks, and communicate with class and nobility. Queen is a must. Queen must be classy by itself. Without a line of arrogance, a student carries with him or her a touch of pride and decency. Nobility, this is my favorite value of all. Here at Queen Anne School, children are taught to be noble in all of their actions, their use of words, and appearance. QAS, being a small community school in this part of the city, is not a reason for our students to feel inferior in the presence of strangers, other students, persons of authority, so on and so forth. Again, my dear Queenians, dear parents, the core value that the school always share with its students are critical thinking, honesty, integrity, loyal, discipline, respect, excellence, and nobility. It is ultimately your children that we as an institution value the most. Please be assured that the school administration, faculty members, non-teaching personnel, consultants, and external service providers will always be on top of their games to deliver the best possible learning environment and experience for your children. For your questions and suggestions, please feel free to send via the chat box and we will immediately answer all of you. Thank you and we welcome you to the new normal, Queen and School version.
And so thank you so much, Pastor Mike. And before we proceed to our next speaker, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our senior high school coordinator. Ayan, masaya na naman ang mga bata, pati kami. Andito na po ang pag-agapay ni Sir Joms. Hi po, Sir Joms. Thank you po for joining us today. Ayan. So, ayan, to present to us the mga bagay-bagay po about finances and clearances, yan, mahalaga po ito. I am very pleased to present to you our very good-looking, kind, and generous Director for Finance, our dear Miss Irene Venice B. Atutubo. Pasok na po, ma'am.
Queen parents and guardians. I am Miss Irene Venice Atutubo, and I am the Director for Finance of Queen School. I'll be discussing the important points with regards to school tuition and fees. The tuition fees are to be paid in accordance with the schedule of payments set by the school. Monthly tuition fees should be paid every first week of the month. Parents are given the opportunity to choose several options regarding the mode of payment of the school's tuition and fees. Sa ngayon po, meron tayong cash option, monthly option, and also a quarterly option. And recently, we added the pandemic option for us also to help the parents that are greatly affected of this pandemic. So for refunds, a student who transfers or withdraws in writing after the first week of their enrollment date and has already paid the pertinent tuition and fees in full for any length shall no longer be given a refund. For senior high school students with voucher, a student who withdraws or transfer in writing 1 week after their enrollment date will be required to pay the whole year fee in cash. Even we have these online classes or online examinations, signed examination permits are still required before any student can take examinations. Please take note also that reservation fees are non-refundable. So for student clearance, all students must complete their clearances before the final examination. All projects and requirements must be be fulfilled before their respective deadlines. Students who did not meet the deadline will not be able to get the signature of the respective faculty member or staff. Only students with the signature of the accounting officer or the school cashier may take the final examinations. Students who have incomplete clearances will not be able to get their report cards and other documents from the registrar's office. For first semester senior high school clearance, students with incomplete clearance will not be added to the enrolled list for the second semester. Students cannot attend classes if he or she is not yet in the enrolled list. The number of days the student was not able to attend classes will be added as second semester absences as soon as the student has been added to the enrolled list. So if you have further question or you need further clarification, please message us in our official Facebook page, or you can also visit us in the office. So thank you for listening, and please stand by for the next speaker.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Aya. Muli, gusto ko pong ipaalala sa inyo na for any of your questions or concerns, pwede niyo po yung ilagay dito, i-direct sa ating Zoom chat box. And also, uulitin ko po, later we're going to have, before the question and answer, we're going to have short picture taking. At pagkatapos po ng picture taking, isa-send po ni Sir Ayan sa atin yung ating Google form for your attendance. So just stay with us. Konting-konti na lang po ito. Susunod naman po, we'll be presenting to you different learning modalities. And for that, I'd like to call back our Director for Academics and Prefect of Discipline, Mr. Christian Noel Atutubo, to explain this to us.
Good day, Queenian parents and guardians. I'm here to discuss about the different learning modalities offered by Queenan School this upcoming school year 2021 to 2022. Starting off with online-based learning. Now, what are the different tools that we are going to use in online-based learning? First one is we have vSmart. So vSmart is used for the delivery of lessons, instructions, activities, examinations, and webinar links. This is the main tool in Queenan School's online learning modality. Second is we have Zoom. Zoom is used for webinars, meetings, and on-cam activities. Third is we have Google Forms. Google Forms is used for examinations, quizzes, and other recorded activities. Fourth one is we have email account, preferably Gmail. It's used for submission of other activities. So Queenian parents and guardians, I would suggest that you create the email for the student so that you can, you know the username and password, and you will be able to check anytime if the student is submitting the different activities required by the teacher. We also have QAS notebooks, which is from preschool to junior high school only. So notebooks are used for taking down notes and doing other activities. And we have QAS textbooks, which is from preschool to junior high school only. References for lessons and for activities and worksheets. Let's start first with the first tool used in online learning. We have vSmart. So vSmart is the main tool of QAS in online learning. vSmart is accessible from the website school.vsmart.ph. ph. So please make sure that the student is accessing the correct website in order for them to access their lesson. There is also an iOS and Android app for vSmart, but I would suggest that you use the browser and go to the full website because some of the features are not available in the mobile app. There will be one vSmart lesson per meeting per subject. Links for Zoom webinars are also distributed to the students through the vSmart lesson made for that day. Teachers will make their vSmart lessons accessible to the students only on their scheduled time. For example, this is only an example. Uh, Science for grade 8. Okay. For example, the schedule is MWF 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. If the student log in to vSmart before 9 o'clock and try to access the lesson, he or she will not will not be able to open the lesson. It will stay there. It will say there, lesson has not yet started. So the student has to wait until 9 a.m. before the student can open the lesson. Parents can check in the enrolled lessons option in vSmart to check if the student is opening and finishing the lesson. Quizzes and examination links are also distributed to the students through vSmart. Okay, before we go to vSmart Common Issues and Resolution, I will show you how to access vSmart and how to check uh, the the lessons in vSmart. So you will be sure, you can be sure that the students are studying their lesson through the website. Okay, so again, the website for vSmart is school.vsmart.ph. So this is the main page for vSmart, and the student needs to click login to be able to log into the website. So each online learning student in Queen Anne School will have their own vSmart account. So all they have to do is to type in the username and password and click sign in. Once they click sign in, they will be directed back to the homepage or the dashboard of vSmart. You will see here, if you click these options here, you will be directed to the different subjects and different levels for for the vSmart account. For example, in grade 7 to 10, if they click that, there will be the mathematics subject for grade 7 to 10, English subjects, Filipino subjects, etc. But you don't have to navigate through the different lessons here. The student will only need to go and put the mouse pointer at their name on the upper right part of the page. So once they put the mouse pointer on their name, these options will pop out. You have My LMS, Enrolled Lessons, Messages, Profile, and Log Out. The student has to select Enrolled Lessons. So once they click Enrolled Lessons, they will be able to see all the lessons, the vSmart lessons prepared by the teacher, by which they are added as participants. So once they are added as participants, they only need to go to enrolled lessons and they will see the lessons prepared by their different subject teachers. Okay. For example, let's click this one, grade 7 science week 2 meeting 1. So once the student clicks the lesson, they will see here send message and resume lesson. Resume lesson because I opened it before already, but I was not able to finish the lesson. That is why in the progress bar, you will see that it is only 33% completed. So parents, when you log into the vSmart account of your child or your student, you will be able to see if the student finishes the lesson. Okay, so if in case the lesson uh, the lesson is not yet scheduled, or for example, it's not yet the schedule for that particular subject, it will not say here send message and resume lesson. It will say here lesson not yet started. Okay, so the student has to wait for their class schedule for that particular subject to start before they can access the lesson. So once we click resume lesson, okay, so the student will be able to see the lesson prepared by the teacher. Okay, so once they are done, all they have to do is says here mark as complete. Okay, they have to click that and they will be directed if the lesson is already finished in this page, or if there is another page there. At the bottom of the vSmart lesson, you will see here resources. So the teacher will also put in the webinar link in this area for their Zoom webinar, or the link for Google Forms if they have a quiz or assessment on that particular day. So don't forget that the resources area here at the bottom of the vSmart lesson is very important, because they will be able to see the webinar links and assessment links in this area. Okay, so once the student is finished with the vSmart lesson, all they have to do is to click mark as complete, and then it will say there student has finished the lesson or 100% completed, just like this one. Okay, so it will say there 100% completed. Okay, so that's how you can check the progress of the student in their different subjects through their vSmart account. Okay, going back to some vSmart common issues and resolution. First common issue is that the student cannot log in, or they cannot log in. So before we contact the QAS tech support, there are simple troubleshooting steps that we can do so that we can log in immediately to the account. First one is that if the student cannot log in, they have to make sure that the student is in the correct website, which is school.vsmart.ph. Second one, if the student cannot log in still, make sure the username is typed in small letters. Okay, if the username has a capital letter typed in it, it will not work. So please make sure that the username is typed in small letters. However, for the passwords are case sensitive, so make sure that the password is typed correctly. Okay, so they have to be uh, sure on how the password is typed. If there are capital letters there, if there are numbers there, okay? So passwords are case sensitive. Next one is that if the student has the correct username typed in small letters, and then the password is typed correctly in the correct website, then have the student contact QAS Tech Support Facebook page to reset the password. Okay, so all you have to do is to search for QAS Tech Support in Facebook, and we have a dedicated Facebook page that assists the student if they are having problems with their vSmart accounts. We can reset the password and generate a new password for them. Okay, so if the tech support already reset the password and the student cannot log in still, then there might be an ongoing outage or system or scheduled maintenance. If there is a scheduled maintenance in vSmart, so the teacher will give different activities through Facebook chat or Facebook group, so that the student still has something to do. Or they may also schedule an instant webinar. Okay. Next common issue is we have this message: the lesson has not yet started. If this message is appearing on the vSmart lesson and the student cannot log in or cannot access the lesson because of this message, here are the things that we can do. The student will contact the teacher and ask the teacher to check if the correct date and time is recorded in the vSmart lesson. This means that the schedule programmed in the vSmart lesson is has what do you call this? It's not yet that's the schedule by which the lesson will open. Okay, for example, the teacher programmed the lesson to open at 10 a.m. and it's just 9:45. Then this message will appear. So, how about if the teacher was able to double check that the vSmart lesson has the correct date and time? What's the next thing that we can do? So, the student should check if the date and time of their device is correct. Okay, if the date and time of the device being used by the student is incorrect, then the student cannot access the lesson. This message will appear. Okay, so third common issue is that the student cannot see the vSmart lesson made by the teacher. Okay, so the student is navigating vSmart and still he or she cannot find the vSmart for a vSmart lesson for that day. First thing that you need to do is to ask the teacher to check if the student is added in the list of participants. If the student is not added in the list of participants, that vSmart lesson made by the teacher will not appear in the enrolled lessons option. Okay? Second is that the student should check the vSmart lesson in the enrolled lessons option. So they don't have to go to the different levels, different subjects, and then try to look for their lesson for that day. So all they have to do is to go to enrolled lessons, okay? And the lessons there are arranged by date. So next tool that we are going to discuss is Zoom. So Zoom is the preferred program used for webinars. Now, even though vSmart has a built-in webinar feature, we still prefer Zoom because of its stability and also it's not that data consuming. Okay, excuse me. Webinar links are given to the students through vSmart. Only QAS students who chose online mode of learning are allowed to join the webinar because module-based learning is completely offline, purely offline. So therefore, only those students who chose online mode of learning will be able to join the webinar. Participants must be muted before entering the webinar. So teacher will select that feature wherein all the participants are muted upon entering the webinar to avoid disruption. Display name of participants should be in this format, last name and then first name, so that the teacher can check if there are unauthorized people that were able to enter the chat room or the video webinar. Students should be in complete and proper uniform during webinars. So we have three kinds of uniform. We have the daily uniform. We have the QAS green shirt, which will be worn every Wednesday, and then we have the PE uniform, the QAS PE uniform during PE day. Okay. Haircuts will be checked every month through webinars. For the boys, it should not touch the eyebrows and their ears. And then no hair color, no coloring of hair. Next, student will only be unmuted when reciting or answering questions. For security purposes, students are not able to unmute themselves to avoid class disruptions. Okay, so that means if the student wants to answer a question or wants to answer a question or ask something to the teacher, then they will use the raise hand function in Zoom. So once they click that, it will notify the teacher that the student is raising his or her hand, and therefore the teacher will unmute the students. The students cannot unmute themselves without the permission of the teacher. Okay, to avoid class disruptions. Cameras should be turned on at all times. Okay, uh, we we compared the progress or the performance of students in webinar with other students in other schools wherein they are not required to turn on their cameras. And the only way for online distance learning to work uh, is when the students are turning on their cameras, because if they know that the teacher can see them, and therefore they will give their full attention to the lesson being discussed. Okay, they are not easily distracted. Teachers will check and document the attendance of students during webinar every meeting. Teachers will document every violation if in case the student incurs one. So what are the possible violations? Camera is turned off, not in proper uniform, not participating, student is late, and student is absent. For habitual violator, even after frequent warnings, the third violation, teacher may disallow the student to attend webinar unless the teacher has talked to the parent. For example, after uh, even after some warnings given by the teacher, and then the student is still not turning on their cameras, by the third meeting, the teacher may choose not to allow the student to enter the webinar anymore unless the teacher has talked to the parent. The school may drop the student due to absences or after exceeding the maximum number of allowed absences in a school year. All interventions will be done first by the teacher or advisor concerned. With regards to attendance, it will be discussed later under attendance and punctuality. Okay, third tool that we are going to use are Google Forms. So Google Form is the preferred website used for quizzes, examinations, and other assessments. Link for the assessment will be placed in the vSmart lesson made for that day. Assessment will remain locked and will only be unlocked during the scheduled time. Teachers will manually unlock the assessment. For example, they have a quiz and the schedule of their quiz is from 10 o'clock to 10:30. So before 10 o'clock, if the student access the Google form for that quiz, it will say there that the quiz or the Google form is currently locked and to contact the creator of that Google form, which is the teacher. So if the teacher will only unlock the Google form at a particular time, which is 10 o'clock in my example. So from 10 o'clock to 10:30, the quiz will be unlocked. The student will be able to answer the quiz. And then at 10:30, the Google form or the quiz will be locked again. Results will not be automatically sent to the students after the assessment to avoid leakage. It is the student's responsibility to ensure that they have a backup if in case they encounter connection or device problems during assessment. Okay, so for example, they are having a quiz from 10 o'clock to 10:30, and then the student has a problem with the connection. Okay, with their internet connection. So make sure that they have data as a backup. Google Form is not really heavy on data, unlike webinars. So the student will be able to access Google Form easily via data. If in case the student lost connection during the assessment, he or she must contact the teacher during the scheduled time. Failure to contact the teacher before the assessment time ends means the student will lose the chance to take remedial assessment. For example, the student is taking the quiz, and the schedule of the quiz is from 10 o'clock to 10:30. And at 10:15, the student had a problem with the connection. The student needs to contact the teacher immediately before the schedule of their quiz ends, which is, in my example, 10:30. Okay, so If the student tells the teacher that they have connection problems, but it's already beyond the scheduled time of the quiz, then the teacher will not allow to take remedial assessment anymore. Okay, that's why we also use Facebook Messenger in communication between students and teacher, because the students can still use Messenger even if they have no connection. We have free data, diba? We have free data, or what do you call this? Yeah, free data, and the student can still use Messenger. If the student who lost connection was able to contact the teacher immediately, the parent of the student must contact the teacher within the day, only through video call, to confirm the connection problem. The teacher can then decide if he or she will allow the student to take remedial assessment. Text messages or private messages to the teacher is not allowed. Now, why only through video call? Because we want to make sure that it is the parent that we are talking to. Okay, so text messages, private messages, even phone calls are not allowed. Only through video call. Once allowed, the teacher can then schedule the date and time the student may take the assessment. Scheduling remedial assessments must conform to the rules stated in the QAS handbook. Okay? The teacher have the right to decide regarding this matter. Only QAS administrators, through a thorough investigation, may overturn the decision of the teacher. Now, next is we have the email account, personal email account of the student to be used for submitting assessments. Students should have a dedicated email account for submission of requirements. Student can make a new email account that he or she can use in sending other activities, so preferably Gmail. Instructions by the teacher will be given to the students on what to put in the subject field, the body, the deadline, and attachments of the activity that the student will send. So this is an example of some instructions placed by teacher in vSmart, wherein the student is instructed to send their activity via email. Okay, so even the deadline is placed here. The student has to follow the instructions made by the teacher so that their work will be accepted. Textbooks, which are from preschool to junior high school only. Even though summaries of lessons are uploaded in vSmart, students will still use the book for further explanation and discussion regarding the topic. Teachers will direct the students on what pages to read. For the activities in the book, teacher will tell the student to write their name at the top of the page of the activity, then answer the questions. After answering, student will take a picture of the page with their answers, ensuring that it is their name at the top of the name at the top of their page is visible, and they will submit it via email. For example, I have a textbook here. For example, this one. So they have an activity and the teacher asks them to answer this. So the student will answer that activity on their book and they will write their name at the top of the page. They will take a picture of this page with their answers and send it via email. Please make sure that the name is visible. So why do they have to put their names on top? That is to avoid cheating. Okay, so it's very easy to share the picture with their friends, and therefore their friends will also submit the same image, not answering the activity in their textbook. If the answer to the questions in the book will not fit the page, teacher may instruct the students to use their notebooks to answer the questions and then take pictures of the notebook page, again with their name at the top, and send it via email. They may also instruct the students to use Microsoft Word in answering the questions, but first option will always be to place the answers in the textbook. For the notebooks, QAS notebooks are from preschool to junior high school, but in senior high school, the teacher may require the student to have their own notebook per subject. vSmart is considered as the blackboard in the classroom. So it is advisable that the students copy the lessons in vSmart to their notebooks. Okay. So last year, I also required my students to copy the lessons in vSmart and then put it in their notebook. Okay. The following are the reasons why the student should copy the lessons from their vSmart to their notebooks. Number one is for convenience. So the student does not need to connect to the internet to study their lessons. Second is for health reasons. So the student does not need to read through their phone, tablet, or laptop when reviewing their lesson. So we lessen the screen time of the student when they have a copy of their lesson in their notebook. And third one is for retention and mastery of lesson. So it is proven that information is best retained if the student writes the lesson. Teachers may also ask the student through their parent or guardian to submit their notebooks after every quarterly examination. So it can be checked and recorded as an activity. Teacher will ensure that the notebooks be returned to the students within 48 hours. It can be picked up again by a family member in the school. All right, so those are the different tools that we are going to use in online based learning. Let's now go to module based learning. For module-based learning, here are the following guidelines. First one, students who choose module-based learning will pick up the modules from the school after every 2 weeks. Okay, and that will be on Wednesday. So every Wednesday, every other Wednesday, every 2 weeks. Okay. Modules contain the summary of lessons, activities, and worksheets of the students. Students will also be directed to specific pages in their textbook for their lessons and other activities. Module-based learning is purely offline, but sometimes there are some activities wherein the student is asked to create a video. For example, they have oral reading. The student needs to create a video and send it through email, or they can put it in a flash drive and submit it to the teacher when they submit the module. During examinations, test papers will be picked up in the morning and must be returned in the afternoon, which is 4 p.m. Because after 4 p.m., the school will be closed and no one will uh, accept the test papers anymore. Examinations that are submitted late will not be accepted. Okay, so for example, we have 2 days, 2 examination days. So in day one, family member of the student will pick up the examination modules or the test papers from the school in the morning, bring it home, and then the student will answer it until the afternoon. Now they need to return the test papers before 4 p.m. Okay, so we are very strict with time. If in case the student fails to submit their examinations on time and the school is already closed, which is after 4 p.m., therefore it will not be accepted anymore. Okay, so examinations are not allowed to be in the possession of the student for more than 24 hours. Okay, so those are the different learning modalities in Queen School for this coming school year. If you have any more questions, you can contact us through our Facebook page. Thank you.
All right, so before we continue po and go to the explanation of our grading system, we'd like to pause for a while for a very important announcement from Sir Ian. May reminder lang po siya.
Good afternoon, Ma'am Nea, and thank you. Good afternoon, students and parents. So it was not explained also in the video regarding the schedule of the classes of online learners. But if you will check the Facebook group of the student, the schedules are already posted. Now, if you're wondering when the student will have their webinar for a particular subject, you only need to check the shaded or the colored part of the schedule. The shaded or the colored part of the schedule will be the day and time when the student will have the webinar for that specific subject. Now, the difference for the webinars between this year and last year is that we increased the number of webinars per subject of the student, especially in the major subjects. So they can have at most two webinar meetings per week as compared to last year that they only had one. So what's the reason for increasing the number of webinars? So last year was a period of adjustment. And this year, we will try to maximize the online learning to the point that the student will really feel that they are studying in a classroom setup. So the more that they see their teacher, the more that they have live discussions with their teacher, the more that they understand the lesson instead of just reading it through vSmart or paper through modules. That is why we are encouraging the parents of the student to let your children be in online learning setup, especially for the graduating students. It will be better for them, especially next year if they will be in college and we hopefully we will be in the face-to-face setup next year, and then the student, because they had live webinars and live discussions with their teachers, the memories, the information from their lessons are better retained. Therefore they will not have problems adjusting to the college level. So all the planning, all the things that we did this year, the improvements that we did, that is all for the betterment of the student and also for their learning and studying. Okay. Thank you, Ma'am Nea. That's all.
All right, thank you so much po, Sir Ian. And also, I'd like to take this opportunity and chance na rin po since I have all the parents and guardians here para makiusap po. So, katulad po ng lagi namin sinasabi, kami po ang pangalawang ina, kaming mga guro ang pangalawang ina ng inyong mga anak sa eskwelahan. So, kayo po ang una, and while they are studying at home or having their online mode of learning, sana po makikiusap kami na makiisa po kayo. Kumbaga, kasi naranasan ko po before na magkaroon ng estudyante na inuutusan ng nanay niya habang nagle-lesson ako. So sana pag nakita nyo naman po na naka-on cam siya, ibig sabihin talagang may lesson. Hindi naman po yung nagdadahilan. So, medyo exempted muna sa pagwawalis or paghuhugas ng pinggan. Pero after po ng klase, ayan na po, ibongga na po natin yung inyong utos sa kanila at para naman po makatulong sa inyo. Ano po?
Maybe
Yun lang po.
the correct term, Ma'am Nea, is not exempted but excused. So
Ayan, excuse. Ayan.
they have to do
Exempted
that
for the
later.
time being. Ayan.
Opo.
Excuse, tapos after po nun, ayan, sa ibongga nyo na po yung kailangang mga gawaing bahay. So, for the meantime lang po, ayun, wala po muna utos. So, maraming salamat po. Alright, so ito naman po ay para sa kapakanan ng kanilang grades na alam kong ikatutuwa nyo pag matataas. So, tungkol po sa ating grading system, ito po ay ipapaliwanag ng aking kasama sa Senior High School Department na si Ma'am Monica Naperi. So, makinig po tayo.
Parents and guardians, today I am going to discuss the new grading system of this school year 2020-2021. On this school year, we have two learning delivery modalities, which are the online distance learning and the modular distance learning. First, let us talk about online distance learning for elementary and junior high school. How does the student will be graded on this new grading system? Like before, the students will be graded based on the components of the grading system, like written works, performance tasks, and quarterly assessment. The components of different learning areas have different corresponding percentage. In math and science, 40% written works, 40% performance tasks, and 20% quarterly examination. In MAP and TLE, 20% written works, 60% performance tasks, and 20% quarterly examination. For languages, 35% written works, 45% performance tasks, 20% quarterly examination. For AP and ESP, 30% written works, 50% performance tasks, and 20% quarterly examination. For modular distance learning for elementary and junior high school, math and science, 30% written works, 30% performance tasks, 40% quarterly examination. MAP and PLE, 20% written works, 60% performance tasks, and 20% quarterly examination. Languages, AP and ESP, written works is 35%, performance task 45%, and the remaining 20% is for quarterly examination. How about in senior high school? Like elementary and junior high school, in senior high school, there is two learning delivery modalities, which are online distance learning and modular distance learning. The learning areas for senior high school, we have core subjects, specialized subjects, and applied subjects. Core subjects like mathematics, English, science, and Filipino will be taken by all of the students. Written works, 20%, performance task, 50%, quarterly assessment is 30%. The specialized subjects are those subjects that will be taken by specialization. Written works, 20%, performance tasks, 45%, quarterly assessment is 35%. For applied subjects, these are the authentic subjects that requires real-world application, like research, empowerment technologies, and other subjects. So written works, 35%, performance tasks, 40%, quarterly assessment is 25%. For the modular distance learning, core subjects, instead of 20%, written works is 35%, performance tasks 35%, quarterly assessment is 30%. For specialized subjects, written works 30%, performance tasks 35%, quarterly assessment is 35%. For applied subjects, written works 35%, performance tasks 40%, and quarterly assessment 25%. Let us discuss these new grading components, or where thus the grades in written works, performance tasks, and quarterly assessment will come from. For written works, this is a synchronous class where the teacher provides a different activities for the students. Since we have 30 minutes on screen or the live webinar, the remaining 30 minutes will be given to the students in order for them to finish their assigned tasks like online quizzes, sit works, and homeworks. For the performance standards or performance tasks, this is synchronous where both students and teacher requires to be online at the same time. Like online recitation. For example, in live webinar, the students or the teacher asks question and the students answer. It can be online recitation, depends on the teacher. Online demonstration. Asynchronous, the researchers, projects. For the portfolio, these are the written outputs and other activities. For the quarterly assessment, it is asynchronous but with time pressure. These are the online quarterly examination. How to compute grades? For example, grade 10 English online distance learning. Name of the students, example, John de la Cruz. Since this is English online distance learning, written works is 35%. Suppose that we have 7 written works, the quizzes, sit works, and homeworks. This is the highest possible score, 20, 25, 20, the total of 160 points. So John's score, 18, 22, 20, 17, a total of 145. In order for us to get the percentage score, which is 100%, add the all John's score, which is 145. Then 145 divide by the highest possible score, which is 160, multiplied by 100% is equal to 90.625. In order for us to get the weighted score, which is 35%, so the percentage score multiplied by the weighted score, which is 35%, is equal to 31.72. So out of 35% written works, John got 31.72%. For the performance standard, since it is English, performance task is 45%. Supposed to be, this is the highest possible score, 120 points. John's score is 100. So percentage score out of 100%, John got 83.33. Weighted score out of 45, John got 37.5%. For the quarterly assessment, for example, it is 50-item examination. John got 40%, 40 points. Out of 100 percentage score, John got 80%, and out of 20% weighted score, John got 16%. In order for us to get the initial grade of John, let us add the weighted score of each component. So written works, 31.72, performance task, 37.5, and quarterly assessment is 16, a total of 85.22. But it is not the final grade. It is only the initial grade. In order for us to get the final grade of John, we need to use transmutation table. This 85.22, when it is transmuted, it will become 90. So the grade of John is 9. So that's all for the new grading system of this school year. Please wait for the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you so much din po, Ma'am Monica. Teka na. Ayan. So, para makita nyo ako. At this point in time, I'd like to call back our Director of Academics and Prefect of Discipline, Mr. Christian Noela Tutubo, to discuss our school's code of behavior to be followed immediately by the attendance, physical appearance, use of social media, and sanctions for violation. So, pakinggan po natin ito.
Good day. I am here to discuss about the code of behavior as stated in our QAS student handbook. Please take note that the list of violations and the categories of violations will be discussed to the students during the students' orientation on the first week or in the first week of classes. Code of behavior in distance learning. Number 1, students who feel violated and or being accused wrongly or have grievances against students, teachers, staff, or personnel must give their explanation to the class advisor or discipline officer privately via chat after immediately the incident. Number 2, when asked to answer a question, a student must answer respectfully. Number 3, students must observe the English-only policy while in live webinars. This is excluding the subjects wherein the vernacular used is Filipino or Tagalog. Number 4, student must perform and accomplish tasks in the time given. Students may seek clarification or ask help from teacher, classmates, or housemates, provided that the student will not ask for answers or ask another person to do the task for him or her. Number five, students must wear complete uniform while in live webinars. So we have three types of uniforms. We have the daily uniform. We have the QAS green shirt, which is to be worn every Wednesday. And we have the PE uniform that will be used during PE days. Number six, teachers will strictly follow the deadline set for every task. If in case an unforeseen event prevented the student from passing the activity on time, it will be the responsibility of the student to contact the teacher before the deadline. And it will still be the teacher who will have the final decision regarding the matter based on the evidences provided. Number six or seven, students' online logins and passwords must not be shared with anyone else. Number eight, students are prohibited from taking pictures and or screenshots of lessons, webinars, and modules. They must copy the lessons to their subject notebooks. Posting on social media and or sharing pictures of webinars, lessons, tasks, and quizzes, including modules, seatworks, and homeworks and examinations are strictly prohibited. Number nine, students are expected to respect administrators, faculty and staff, and person in authority. Number 10, submission and pickup of modules will only be done every Wednesday at the QAS campus. In consideration of the current situation, only family member or guardian are allowed to pick up the module. It is prohibited for a student to ask another student to pick up modules for them. Are the students allowed to pick up the module? We will refer to IATF guidelines. So if the current quarantine status prohibited uh, children below 17 or 18 years old or teenagers below 18 years old to go out of their houses, therefore they are not allowed to pick up their modules. Number 11, during webinars, students must follow the rules and regulations set by the teacher to avoid disruption of lesson. Number 12, all students must refrain from quarreling, ridiculing others, fighting, or being accomplices to misconduct in and or outside the campus and online. 13, all students are expected to observe good manners and proper conduct in and out of the campus. For example, in churches, malls, theater, restaurants, and other schools, and online. 14, students must follow the class schedule. 15, during quizzes, examinations, or any written task, the teacher may request online learners to open their webcams while doing the activity. The teacher may decide not to give written exercise to a student who will not follow the instructions. Webcams or cameras may be requested to be turned on to avoid cheating. So this will still be dependent on the teacher. Okay, there are teachers that will ask the student to turn on their webcams or cameras during assessments, and there are teachers who will just ask the student to answer the assessment without cameras. Number 16, cheating in any form is strictly prohibited. Okay, please avoid sharing answers through social media chats or messenger, etc. Okay. 17. Sections of every level are allowed to have one social media group chat that includes the students, the advisor, the subject teachers, and one QAS admin. This group chat will only be used for added discussions and questions regarding the lessons. Members of the group chat are responsible for their own messages. Students and teachers are advised not to have their own separate group chats to avoid any miscommunication and or to untoward incidences. Number 18, students must strictly follow the section Use of Social Media in the QES Student Handbook and must not commit any form of cyberbullying. 19, students will stay in their chosen learning modality for the entire school year to avoid confusion in the end of students and teachers. And number 20, students who will violate any part of the distance learning rules and regulations will be dealt with accordingly based on the QAS student handbook. Now, again, I will discuss these violations and the corresponding disciplinary actions to the students during the student orientation in the first week of classes. Thank you. I will be discussing about attendance and punctuality, use of social media, physical appearance, and sanctions for violation in the QAS student handbook. Starting off with attendance and punctuality, all students who have incurred absences are held responsible for all work missed during the period of absence. A letter of excuse addressed to the principal shall be required before the student can rejoin the class. The letter must be prepared by the parent or guardian and must contain the following information: the student's name and section, date of absence, and the reason for absence. Failure to submit shall be dealt as stipulated in the schedule of offense and sanction. Please take note that a phone call, text, or private message is not a substitute for an excuse letter. Now, if in case the student is absent during the examination period or the examination day, please take note that there are only three allowable reasons why a student can be absent during the exam. Number one, a student a student was sick or is sick. It must be supported by a medical certificate. Please not a doctor's prescription. That is different. Second, if there is death in the immediate family. And third one, if the student has been summoned in any government institution. For example, a student is scheduled for an interview in the Department of Foreign Affairs for their passport. So that is an example. So those are only the three allowable reasons uh, by which a student can be absent during the exam. Other reasons will not be allowed. Only letters prepared by the parent or guardian shall be honored. Student will take a picture of the excuse letter and will be sent to their respective advisor for documentation purposes. A student who accumulates 40 absences or 20% of the total number of school days shall be dropped from the list of students. Now, if we are in online distance learning setup, a student can be considered absent if he or she is not present in the webinar, or if they have no scheduled webinar for that day if they did not submit any scheduled performance task for that particular day. A student who accumulates 30 to 39 absences for the entire school year will be asked to attend remedial classes during the summer to compensate for all the lost school days. Failure to attend remedial classes will result to the student failing his or her academic subject. Students are considered late or tardy if they are not logged in the webinar at the designated time. Student must be in the webinar at least 3 minutes or 2 minutes uh, before the start of the class. If they are late for 10 minutes, then the teacher may not be able to allow the student to enter the webinar because the teacher is already teaching by that time, and he or she is already preoccupied with the discussion, okay, and will not be able to attend to the list of participants. Any student who comes during the third period is to be considered absent. He or she shall present an excuse letter to the assistant principal or level coordinator before they can be allowed to enter the campus. So this is during the face-to-face setup. Number 8, a student who is absent during the monthly or quarterly exams must present an excuse letter and other required documents to the principal. Without the excuse letter, the student will not be allowed to take the exams. There are only 3 allowable reasons to take special exams: medical emergency, which should be supported by a medical certificate; death of an immediate family member; or any government appointment or summoned by any government branch. The student must also finish all special exams a week after the scheduled examinations. So all the special exams will be taken by the student a week after the scheduled exam. After the week, which is 1 week after the scheduled exam, the student will not be allowed to take the special exams anymore. Now let's go to the physical appearance. Number 1, all students should be wearing complete uniform while on live webinar. So as I have mentioned before, there are 3 types of uniform. One is the daily uniform, second is the QAS green shirt every Wednesday, and then we have the PE uniform during PE day. Female students are not allowed to wear makeup in live webinar. Male students are not allowed to wear earrings, chokers, and caps. Wearing of dark glasses and colored contact lenses are not allowed in live webinar. Unauthorized modification of any QAS uniform is strictly prohibited. On PE uniform, the students are required to wear the prescribed PE uniform when doing online activities for their PE subject. Please take note that Foundation Day t-shirts or any white printed t-shirts are not the prescribed PE uniform. Okay, so they are not allowed. On haircut, hair must be neat and well groomed. Male students must sport the prescribed school haircut. Hair must not touch the ears and eyebrows. Shaved head or semi-bald styles are also not allowed. Inappropriate hairstyle and coloring of hair are not allowed. Now, in the use of social media, Queen Anne School understands the importance of the advancement in technology and communications and the right of every individual to express their thoughts and opinion on social media as protected by our freedom of speech. However, Queen Anne School also teaches its students to become responsible netizens. Number one, as a responsible netizen, students should not be involved in any form of cyber harassment or harassment and or cyberbullying. Okay, so Queen Anne School is very strict when it comes to cyberbullying. If in case the student experience any form of bullying, please contact us, your advisor, your teacher, or me immediately. Two, students should not make or be a member of any fake pages or accounts. Number three, social media groups, pages, accounts, and chat groups that are using the name of the school or any of its affiliates without permission are strictly prohibited. Any student who make or becomes a member of such groups, pages, or chat groups will face disciplinary action. Students should also avoid making derogatory remarks, comments, posts, or tweets against fellow students, faculty and staff, coaches, or any member of the institution or the institution itself, whether directly or indirectly. Complaints should be filed at the prefect of discipline's office so it can be addressed appropriately. Now, for the sanctions for violations, now maybe you're wondering what are the violations that can merit these sanctions. I will discuss those to the students during the students' orientation. Number one, sanction for violation, we have oral reprimand or warning. Number two, issuance of written warning for minor offense. Number three, issuance of disciplinary violation report for major offense or series of minor offenses to be signed by parents or guardians and to be returned to the guidance counselor. For example, not sporting the prescribed haircut is under category B. Okay, it's under category B on the list of violation. So in the first offense, that will be issuance of written warning for minor offense. Yun kagad yung first disciplinary action. The second one will be suspension already. Fourth, for failing mark in deportment for the quarter. Number five, suspension. So we have two types of suspension. We have ordinary suspension. Ordinary suspension means it prohibits the attendance in regular class but requires presence in campus. This includes community services. Okay, so if a student is suspended in an online learning setup, he or she will not be able to attend the webinar. Okay, and will be given a different task. So preventive suspension prohibits the student's presence in campus or in any school-related activity outside the campus. Now, in online distance learning, if a student is under preventive suspension, even his vSmart will be suspended. So the student will not be able to log in to his or her vSmart account. Number six, prohibition from participating in school functions such as commencement exercises, sports, etc. A level 10 or a grade 10 student may not be allowed to participate in commencement exercise if he or she commits a serious offense under category C. Okay, it's not only the level 10 students but all the graduating students. For example, the grade 12 students. If they commit any serious offense which is under category C, then based on the handbook, the student will not be allowed to participate in commencement exercise. Number seven, disciplinary probation or strict disciplinary probation. This is a restraining measure imposed for 1 year on students found guilty of committing disciplinary infractions. It is primarily meant to help students develop self-discipline and improve his or her conduct. So we have disciplinary probation or DP. A student shall be placed under DP if he or she receives a conduct grade of 75% in any quarter in any subject. It shall only be lifted if the student gets a conduct grade of 85% or higher in all subjects in the succeeding quarter. Students under DP who gets a grade of lower than 75% in their conduct will be put under consideration for enrollment in the following year. And we have the strict disciplinary probation or SDP. A student under SDP shall be dismissed if he or she receives a conduct grade of 75% or lower in any of the quarter of the present school year. The SDP status shall be lifted if the student obtains a conduct grade of 87% in all subjects. 8. Dismissal. Dismissal is a penalty which allows the school to exclude or drop the name of erring student from the school rolls for continued disregard of school rules and regulations. Students who are dismissed by the school during the school year should still comply with all financial obligations before the necessary documents for transfer are issued. Part of the obligation is the full payment of tuition fees for the rest of the school year. Okay. This also includes students who are dropped. They are dropped from the list of students because of absences. So the student still needs to comply with all financial obligations before the necessary documents for transfer are issued. Okay. And number 9, expulsion is an extreme penalty given to erring student. This consists of exclusion from admission to any public or private schools in the Philippines. So this is the worst case scenario. So a student committed a very serious offense, and then the student will be expelled. The student will be blacklisted in the Department of Education and will not be allowed to enroll in any other institution or schools in the Philippines. With regards to the anti-bullying procedure of Queen Anne School has developed procedures for addressing bullying. It will be discussed with the students during the students' orientation. How about membership in fraternities, sororities, and non-recognized organizations? The school neither permits the existence nor the formation in the campus of organizations which are not duly recognized by the institution. This include fraternities, sororities, and other similar organizations which are noted for their notoriety. Joining fraternities, sororities, and other unauthorized organizations, recruitment of members, and involvement in fraternity or sorority activities such as meetings are considered serious offense and thus shall be dealt with accordingly. Thank you for listening, and that ends my discussion about the sanctions for violation.
Ayan, so maraming salamat po, sir. Ayan, napaka-importante po niyan para sa maganda at maayos na taon para sa ating mga anak. Ngayon naman po, I'd like to request everyone to please turn on your cameras para po sa ating mandatory picture taking which we will be sending to DepEd para po sa katunayan na tayo ay nagkaroon ng orientation today. So, ayan.
Turn on the cameras po.
Turn on the cameras and then give us your best smile. Ayan. Yung tipong ngiti po ng mga misis pag naiabot na ng kanila mga mister yung sweldo. Aking si katapusan. Ayan. O, ang ganda ng ano nila, ma'am. O, ang ganda ng ngiti.
Okay po.
Ayan.
4 batches po. I'll count to 3 muna for the first batch. Smile lang po na smile. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Okay po, second batch. Okay po, 1, 2, 3. Okay po, please turn on the cameras. Batch 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay po, and batch 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
Yan, thank you so much po, Sir Ian, for taking our photo. Ngayon naman po, we are going to proceed to our question and answer portion. Kaya lang po, Sir Ian, may nakita po ba kayo na bagong ano? Parang wala naman po, ano? Mukhang napakalinaw. Mukhang mga batikan na Queenian parents and guardians na po ang ating kasama ngayon.
Yes,
Kaya
ma'am.
more or less alam na nila. Ayan, so if you have not asked, and well, actually, if you remember that you need to ask something, you're always welcome to message us on our official Queen Anne Facebook page sa atin pong sa ating messenger. Muli, kayo po ay aming gustong pasalamatan sa pakikiisa nyo sa amin. Yes, sir.
I will send the link for the attendance po sa chat. Ito, sinend ko na po. So, paki-fill out na lang po as confirmation ng attendance po today. Kailangan po ng inyong mga students or anak po iyan.
Opo.
Sir. Paki-click na lang po, nasa chat box na po yung link.
Yan. All you have to do is click the hyperlink na inilagay po namin sa ating Zoom chat box.
Okay. Siguro po, let's wait for 2 minutes lang po na
Opo, para po maano sila.
Okay po.
Yan, sige. So habang nandito po yan, nais ko pong i-acknowledge yung presence ng ating Queen Mother. Ayan po si Ma'am Astor, kasama natin pala ngayon. Hello po, Ma'am. See you tomorrow. Yan. Ayun pa rin si Sir Joms. All-star cast. Ayan. Okay. So ayan po, habang naghihintay tayo na ma-accomplish nyo yung ating Google Forms, baka po meron kayong mga naiisip or gustong i-raise na concern.
Ma'am Nea ni Sir Joms.
Yes, sir.
How will they accomplish the permit card prior to the examination? Well, actually po, what we did is that all the documents, including the financial statements, are sent privately to the student or the guardian of the student. And then also, it will be the cashier's office shared with the different advisors. May list po sila ng mga nagsettle po ng mga kung meron mang kailangang isettle. So everything will be online for the online learners. No need to go to the school to have your permit card signed. Ganon din po tayo sa clearance. All online po.
Yes po, ayan. So this is something that we've done last school year. So ngayon po, ano na talagang new and improved na po ang ating mga processes. Kung ano man yung naging success natin last year, ipagpapatuloy lang po natin sa taon na to and mas gagandahan pa natin.
Yes po.
Ay, hindi maklik yung link and hindi rin makopy. I-hover nyo lang po, ma'am, yung mouse. Tapos pag naging mukhang kamay na po, yung arrow, naging kamay na, that means ready na po siyang i-click. Dito po sa ano. Yung mommy ni Erica.
Okay.
Ayan. Can you try po, ma'am? Para malaman natin. Ay, ayaw pa rin. Bakit kaya?
Okay po, if in case po hindi po ninyo na-click yung link, just send us a message in the Facebook page of school and I will give you the direct link din po doon.
Ayan, ayun mami, pa-message na lang po para makita ni Sir Ian kung sino po yon, so he can send you the link para mas madali po.
All right. I think that's all, Ma'am Nea.
Alright, so muli po, gusto namin kayong pasalamatan sa pakikiisa sa amin. Ang tagumpay ng inyong anak ay nakasalalay po hindi lang sa amin, kundi pati na rin po sa inyong pakikiisa. So maraming salamat po for being with us. And thank you so much for choosing Queen Anne as your children's school. Good afternoon po.
Hey, sorry, Ma'am Nea.
Sir.
May naihabol pa.
Sige po.
Question. For the first week po of classes, in reference po to the question, can a new student wear a white t-shirt for the meantime? For the first week po of classes,
the teacher will still check the uniform, but they will not be strict. They will be considerate po. But during the second week po, we hope that the students are already in complete uniform. Kasi po may purpose po tayo, kaya natin sila pinag-uniform
Opo.
para po mas maging mentally prepared po sila
Tama po.
whenever they have their classes. Okay?
Proven and tested po yan. Tapos I highly suggest na before po kayo magpunta sa ating eskwelahan para bumili ng uniform, i-check nyo lang po. All you have to do is chat our Facebook page to check on the sizes para po sure kayo na hindi po masasayang ang punta nyo.
Okay.
Ayun lang po. Alright, so meron pa po ba? So kung wala na po, muli, maraming salamat po at magandang hapon po ulit sa inyong lahat.
Okay. Thank you po.
Bye, ma'am.
Thank
Bye,
you.
sir. Bye, Sir Joms.
Bye, everybody.